Yes guys, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you all about what is called your circadian rhythm, or you might know it regularly as your body clock. So what is your circadian rhythm, your body clock? So essentially it is your 24-hour biological clock. And what it does is it regulates your hormones. Regulates all of your hormones and internal biological processes, and it repeats every 24 hours. So circadian is from the Latin circa diem, or around about a day, hence the 24 hours. So it's your biological body clock. It repeats every 24 hours, and it's essentially kind of the schedule for what your body is going to be doing every day. So just to give you some examples of what those things might be. Well, the most commonly known ones are obviously going to be the time that you wake up and the time that you go to sleep. So for example, if there's a certain time of night that you start to feel kind of sleepy, well, that's because your body clock has reached that point and it's releasing certain hormones, and those hormones have reached the kind of the boiling point, let's say, to make you start to feel sleepy. And the same for when you wake up, right? So it regulates the time that you wake up. So something that often people always say and complain about is that, you know, they wake up on the weekend at the same time that they wake up during the week, and then, you know, they can't get back to sleep, even though they don't have to get up. That's your body clock again, because it's used to the pattern of Monday to Friday waking up at X time, right? So when it comes to Saturday morning and you often want to have a lay-in, obviously what ends up happening is you tend to wake up at the similar time that you would during the week quite often. This is your body clock. Other things that it obviously regulates is also your hunger and your appetite and your satiety, so when you're going to feel full. So in another video I spoke to you about the hormones ghrelin and leptin, right? Ghrelin is your hunger hormone, leptin is the hormone that tells you when you are full. Well, they are pretty much regulated again by your body clock. So it tells you when to feel hungry, essentially. So, you know, that's quite important, of course. So part and parcel of managing your appetite, as well as many other things, is managing your circadian rhythm, your body clock. So that's kind of a little bit of an insight of some of the processes that the circadian rhythm controls and why you want to be aware of it and why it's so important. But now let's kind of have a little look at what are some of the main things that actually impact your circadian rhythm, the main things that you can be aware of to help you to set and reset your body clock. So those main things are going to be light, temperature, and also food. So light, temperature, and food. So how does light affect your circadian rhythm? Well, essentially, a lot of your circadian rhythm, your body clock, will be set by sunrise and sunset. So it's absolutely crucial to be exposed to natural or artificial light upon waking, because this stimulates the brain, wakes you up, gives you energy, but it also tells the brain that now is daytime. And as soon as the brain knows that it's daytime, it's going to be able to figure out that in about 12 to 16 hours, it's going to be nighttime, which means it's now time to release a hormone called melatonin. Melatonin. And melatonin, I'm sure many of you have probably heard of it. Melatonin is essentially the darkness hormone. It is the hormone that induces sleep. It's the hormone that kind of tells you, right, it's nighttime, time to go to bed. And obviously, as we just kind of alluded to, it will be released after the sun has set. So what is really crucial is not only being exposed to light upon waking, but after the sun sets and at least 2 to 3 hours before you're planning to go to bed, to start to now do the opposite. Wind down the exposure to light. Turn off the big lights in your home. Turn on lower down, below eye level lamps and candles and things of that nature, because exposure to light late into the evening and the night is going to block the release of melatonin. Same with technology. Nowadays, most smartphones will have a night mode function, and you can obviously manipulate the background to dark mode. You can reduce the brightness of the screens. Do it. Absolutely crucial that you do that, because those screens obviously emit blue light and they block the release of melatonin. So if you want to be able to set your body clock and you want to be able to get to sleep and stay asleep, controlling your exposure to light is absolutely crucial. Exposure in the morning, non-exposure in the evening, blocking out, and also perhaps using a sleep mask, right? Because if you don't sleep in a very dark room, then the light that's coming into your room will be disrupting your sleep. Even if you feel like, well, I'm still asleep, no problems, the light will still be stimulating your eyes, particularly nowadays because the sun rises somewhere between 4:30 and 5 a.m. and that's when most people are going to be feasting on their REM sleep. But if the light is coming in and disrupting that, you're going to be missing out on some of that quality of sleep. So that's light. What about temperature? Well, obviously this also goes in line with the sun, right? It's going to be higher temperature in the daytime and lower temperature in the evening and the night. And that's exactly what your body needs and actually responds to. So I mentioned this in another video, but to fall asleep, your body's core temperature has to drop by about 1 degree Celsius, right? It doesn't seem like a lot, but obviously when it's hot, when it's during the summer, for example, it's going to be quite difficult to manipulate that. But there are things that we can do. Of course, having a cool, airy bedroom is kind of an obvious one, but a less obvious one is actually having a hot shower or bath a couple of hours before bed. Most people tend to think that when they have a hot shower or bath, that's going to warm them up. It warms you up on the surface of the skin. What actually happens when you have a hot shower or bath is that your core starts to dump heat. So it actually starts to cool down because it's responding in opposition to the external temperature. The same is also true if you have a cold shower or a cold bath, right? What happens is your metabolism spikes because your core temperature responds by trying to heat up because it's responding again in opposition to the external temperature. So controlling your temperature, having a cool airy room, cool airy clothing, using a fan, something like that, having a hot shower or bath a couple of hours before bed can be absolutely crucial to allow your body to drop that 1 degree Celsius that is needed. And then finally, we have food, okay? So this is a very important one. Trying to eat at fairly consistent times is absolutely crucial because your body regulates those hormones that we spoke about earlier, appetite and fullness, right? So trying to have regularity with your pattern. If you eat at all different times, your body clock doesn't really know what's going on and it releases these hormones all over the shop. So if you can try and stick within reason, it doesn't have to be on the minute. If you try and stick to a roundabout schedule with your meals, that can also be useful. And a bit wider than that, if you can roughly stick to about an 8 to 12 hour eating window, that will be preferable. Again, this is very consistent with how we've evolved. We haven't really evolved to eat very late at night. So if you can have a cut-off point, you want to have your last meal at least 2 to 3 hours before bed if possible, so that when you're going to bed, your body's going to be resting rather than busy digesting. And if you can stick to an 8 to 12 hour eating window, that is also very beneficial because it allows you enough time to not be digesting, to not be producing certain hormones that you will be producing to respond to food, for example. So these are some of the different things that influence your circadian rhythm and obviously you can manipulate. The very final thing, which is obviously also quite an obvious one, is obviously with regards to your bed and wake times, right? So exactly like with the eating, you want to have a regular pattern, trying to stick to regular bedtimes and wake up times on most, if not all days of the week, including weekends. This is probably the number one thing that we can do to help our circadian rhythm, is to try and have regular patterns with our bedtime and our wake up time. And in general, regular patterns across all of those other things as well. So hopefully you found today's video useful. If you have any additional questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Check out some of my other videos also relating to this topic in the sleep series and various other things. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.